online, on the TuneIn app, and on your smart speaker. Play Shock Radio.
This is Shock
News.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Shock News podcast. It's the 4th of March and it's finally spring. The sun's out, atmosphere is booming and Peel Park is full of sunbathers. So surely that is good for the economy. On today's programme I have Alfie, Garner, Sophie, Milligan and Noah Buckingham Reed here to discuss the latest headlines here in Salford and across the country and the world. And first we're talking about Gorton and Denton. Let's have a look and see how the people of that constituency reacted to Hannah Spencer becoming their brand new Green MP.
The mainstream parties are disappointing.
They're all fighting one another, aren't they? Get rid of this war. It's awful.
All politicians, they are lied to our communist people.
They're just a bit miffed about politics at the moment. There's not a lot of honesty and integrity, I think.
I've always voted Labour, but I think there was some kind of sharp practice going on around here, to be honest.
So I hereby declare that Hannah Catherine Spencer is duly elected Member of Parliament for the Gorton and Denton constituency.
The Green Party have won the Gorton and Denton by-election. Their candidate, Hannah Spencer, won 15,000 votes, 41% of the total vote. Reform finished second, and Labour, which hasn't lost in this area for nearly 100 years, came third.
Things have changed a lot over the last few decades because working hard used to get you something. It got you a house, a nice life, holidays. It got you somewhere. But now, working hard, what does that get you?
So what do residents of Gorton and Denton think about the result?
I've been living in Gorton since the past 20 years.
Why did you vote for the Greens over, say, Reform or Labour?
Because the mainstream parties are disappointing. One of their representatives had a chat with me for a very long time. He had a chat with us and I thought, let's give it a try. This is something that is good.
See how this goes on, see if they keep the promises, and if they don't, I won't be voting again in May.
You won't vote at all?
No.
Why not?
Because I don't trust them.
Any of the politicians at all?
No.
Really?
Yeah. They're all fighting their own backs, I think.
Yeah. So they don't have an interest in the people?
Not us, no, I don't think so, anyhow.
In what should have been a Labour safe seat, this will come as a devastating blow to Starmer and hints at the end of the two-party system. But perhaps the main reason the Greens won was due to their appeal to the 40% Muslim population, in specifically the Gorton half of the constituency, campaigning on the issue of Gaza and posting videos in Urdu and Bangla. So have you had quite a few people come to your door?
Yeah, every day, 3 group, 4 groups like that. So I enjoyed. Actually, this time I vote Labour because I think there is a ruling government and so it could be better for our community.
I'm not a fan of the Green Party, to be honest. Certain things that they have in their manifesto I'm not too keen on. They're just a bit miffed about politics at the moment. There's not a lot of honesty and integrity, I think.
Gorton was a proper area. It was in round here, there was the work all over the place there. But then again, we had a lot of people from foreign countries coming into the area and what have you. You know, and it's not no decrying these people there, but they ruined the area completely.
Do you think they've ruined the area?
They've ruined it. They've ruined the area completely.
Another angle of some voters' annoyance was at family voting.
The Electoral Commission have just revealed this. Today, we have seen concerningly high levels of family voting.
That means a husband and wife or more going into the privacy of the polling station and effectively watching how the other member of the family votes. This is illegal.
Going there was very short.
Okay.
So I don't witness, but I've heard that it happened in some centres.
I'm, like I said, poorly. So people who genuinely are poorly and stuff, I understand the postal vote. But for people who are genuinely okay to turn up, I think they should turn up.
So what do the residents of Gorton and Denton want the government to prioritise?
I know Labour have only been in a short time, but they seem to have destroyed the country a lot with a lot of working class people, and I think that's the fear.
What are your sort of main concerns as a resident here?
It's for my grandchildren, their future.
Is it, and no parties are really helping you with that?
No. They're all fighting one another, aren't they? Doesn't matter who gets it, as long as we're all right. Get rid of this war. Awful.
Many residents I spoke to didn't want to share their thoughts on camera. Some because they thought they'd get too emotional, others because they didn't speak conversational English. Whether the results from this election will carry through to the local elections in May and the general election in 2028 remains to be seen. Elliot, Hartley, Shock News, Gorton and Denton.
And that was the residents of Gorton and Denton reacting to the news that Hannah Spencer had been elected their new Green MP. The Greens, they won. It was expected to be very close, everybody, but in the end they beat Reform by 4,000 votes and Labour finished third. What did the Greens get right in this campaign? Alfie, do you want to start?
What the Greens got right is understanding the constituency. They knew who they were going towards. They knew who their audience was. They weren't trying to fight this as if it was on a national level. They were targeting it. So when you had Reform and you had the likes of Labour who were looking at the national issues predominantly and how it affects Gorton and Denton, Hannah Spencer and the Greens were really focusing on them local issues and how that affects that constituency. But they've also understood the mood of the country. They've understood that people don't like Labour anymore. They don't want a Labour government anymore. So they've understood that the battle was between them and Reform rather than them and Labour. That's something that Labour didn't understand. Reform kind of understood it, but they didn't understand it enough to make that impact. And then you've got the smaller parties who weren't going to have a massive impact on that. So you're seeing sort of a case of they knew what the constituency wants. They knew how it was looking in the polling, but also across the country and how the country was feeling. And then you also had how the Greens' momentum was uplifting. We have to remember, only a few months ago, Zach Polanski got elected, and since then, the membership has increased hundreds of thousands, So we're seeing that shift within the country, but also within the constituency.
Noah, do you think the fact that the Greens decided to field somebody who's local to Manchester, someone who's of working class background being a plumber, really helped them win this constituency? Because they had someone who was relatable, didn't they?
I think it comes down a lot to the candidate. It's a big part of these elections, is especially in these by-elections where there's such a sort of national focus on who that candidate is. There's no sort of, the voters aren't thinking on such a national scale. They're thinking, who can I pick which will be an impact for my local community? We know that there was problems with Reform's candidate who lives in Hertfordshire. He's not from Manchester. He studied in Salford. He tried to say he delivered pizzas in Burnage, and I did think it really connected with the voter base at the end. What they had in Hannah Spencer was a local person, a Mancunian. She's 34. She's dropped out of school at 16. Is a plumber. In the middle of this campaign, she qualified as a plasterer. She is the candidate that the Green Party, this new form of the Green Party. I mean, you mentioned how Zach Polanski has made such an impact on their successes. Over the weekend, they hit 200,000 members. Before, they amassed about 50,000 across their sort of 20-year history. I mean, to come in and now be reaching over 200,000 since he was elected to that position in September last year, it's astronomical numbers. And this is exactly the new face of the Green Party. People who are local, who understand what it means to work. That's what she said in her sort of victory speech. That people like her deserve a seat at the table, and now they have one.
Soph, do you think that the main error from Labour here, because in 2024 Andrew Gwynn was elected with a 13,000 majority, do you think the problem with their campaign was that they targeted Reform? They constantly said it's Labour or Reform here. It wasn't, it was the Greens. Do you think that they were not appealing to the right audiences in this campaign, and that's ultimately why they failed?
Yeah, I think because if you're going to go for someone, it's either Labour or this person, you should go with someone that's on the same side of the political spectrum to you. Because if you're saying it's Labour or Reform, then you're essentially giving them two different extremes. Whereas if you say it's Labour or Green, you've got sort of, they're on the same, I mean now obviously Labour's sort of becoming more right, but you've got sort of the two aspects of the left-wing scale.
So I'm going to ask all three of you a question now, and I just want a quick fire answer. Alfie, why did Labour lose?
Not understanding what the country needs.
Why did Labour lose?
I think the Andy Burnham incident.
Okay, interesting. Why did Labour lose?
People are sick of being told they're wrong. They want to believe they're standing their convictions, and in this case they went with those convictions. I did not to go for a safe vote.
Okay.
Keep it succinct.
Very good, very good. And do you think that this result puts more pressure on Keir Starmer? And how do you think it's going to impact the results we see in May at the upcoming local elections?
It'll have a massive impact on Starmer. Starmer was probably buying on this to be a win for him. He was wanting this to be a case of he could look towards the country and say, we've got the backing of a constituency, and now he doesn't. You know, this was a Labour stronghold for so many years, and it's getting lost to the Green Party, a party that is so opposite from Labour at the moment. It just goes to show that actually, to Keir Starmer, this is not what the country needs. Whether it will impact future elections, we can't be certain, because we've had it time and time before where, you know, by-elections have delivered one result, but a different result has been delivered at the election itself. We look back to Rochdale not a few years ago, where we saw George Galloway got elected in the by-election, and then someone completely different gets elected in the general election. We can't use this data to say it's going to be a Green or Reform win.
It's very interesting. I want to tackle the whole two-party system and whether that's over in a second. But first of all, Reform, we'll talk about them. And they're claiming that there was issues with this election and how fair it was because of family voting. And this is where families go to vote together and perhaps influence each other on what to tick in the ballot box. Do you think Reform have a point, Noah, when it comes to this being a slight problem?
Look, I think when it came to it, the democracy volunteers sort of case, this family vote, they're gonna have these claims. Hannah Spencer said it best when she got into Parliament. This is Trumpian of them. This is sort of this bombastic, not grounded in evidence base of trying to appeal to people, when frankly the evidence isn't there to support them. When they're trying to sort of avert the eyes away from their kind of thumping loss, 4,000 vote loss, which they took. They have broken this sort of facade that Reform are now an unstoppable party. We were sort of saying this before we came on, but they had the Runcorn election. They won. They beat out Labour in another Labour pretty stronghold seat. But they went to in Wales and they had the by-election there, and they lost to Plaid Cymru, and it wasn't expected they'd lose that seat. They came into this and everyone thought the party with this insurgency, party with momentum, are Reform. And they lost out to the Green Party. I think it's sort of ruining this facade, which they are the number one priority, and almost getting on. We'll get onto the sort of multi-party, whether that is broken down. But if this is more evidence that that system doesn't exist anymore, then they can do everything they can to try and make it seem like it's only them.
I do think it is interesting because they lost by 4,000 votes. I mean, it's very hard to poll a by-election, but people were saying it was going to be very, very, very close. So what I think is, do you think that this kind of ruins that momentum that Reform have been building? Since those council election victories in 2025, they've been going up and up in the polls. And I think a lot of people are starting to accept that the likelihood is that we'll have a Reform government next time. The two-party system is over. The Conservatives didn't even get their deposit back here in Gorton. But do you think that the people who could be fighting it out now for number 10 are perhaps Reform and the Greens, and it's not as simple as saying Nigel Farage is just going to be Prime Minister? Soph?
I think the thing with Reform is that people have been saying that they're going to vote Reform as a joke, and then they don't actually commit to it, because, like, when the last election, the last general election, with that it was. People were saying they were going to vote Reform, but then obviously we saw Labour. Like, obviously Reform did get seats, but they didn't get as many seats as was expected. But I think they lack the relatability that sort of the Greens have. Same with Labour. I don't think Labour now have the relatability that they used to have, because with Keir Starmer, you've got him saying that his father was a toolmaker. That's not relatable. Whereas with the Greens, you've got Hannah Spencer, who is a plumber. Like, most of them working class and are for the people.
I think it's often been this image of the Green Party as a middle-class party. Party of the Southerners, of the liberal. I mean, I think I read something in the Times in the lead up to the campaign that this is the party of Birkenstocks and muesli. Okay. Have we broken down that sort of agenda that the Green Party of middle-class working...
Well, I don't think it's... I think it'd be difficult to describe them as a middle-class party as such, considering they are on the left.
I think maybe 6 months ago you might have done.
Maybe. I think Zach Polanski has definitely changed stuff. The party had now won their first ever seat in the north, but this by-election has now come to a close. We do have another one coming up in Salford Council, Barton and Winton. That will be happening in the next few weeks. But moving away from politics and Gorton and Denton now, to an issue which probably impacts maybe not us as such, but a lot of people who we may know in the couple of years above us, graduates, and it's student loans. And Chancellor Rachel Reeves delivered her spring statement yesterday, and it would appear that student loan repayments are going to be frozen. The amount of money you earn is going to be frozen for when you start making repayments. And that in real terms means that people are going to be earning less money but still paying back interest. So this is the level 2 loans. They're going up essentially because the rates are being frozen. There are 707,000 graduates out of work at the moment. Isn't life tough enough for them already, Alfie?
Oh yeah, 100%. This says a lot about where sort of the student funding's going within sort of the next few years. For a lot of these students, and a lot of the arguments that are being made against this is, we signed a contract that said you'll do this, this and this. You're now breaking this contract. So the likes of Martin Lewis is now saying you're breaking this contract technically illegally or without consultation. So, you know, we have the right to then go back and say, actually, we're not going to do this. But and then you look at the likes of Rachel Reeves, who's saying, actually, this is really important for our economy. This is really important for sort of our public goods and public services like the NHS. Earlier today, I think Bridget Phillips was at the Dispatch saying this will only cost £8 a week for these students. I was like, that's still £8. You know, for some people that could be.
Well, if you're paying it off for 40 years,
exactly,
that's thousands of pounds, right?
Exactly, and also for some people, £8 might not seem like a lot, and that's for the high earners. For some people, £8 might be the difference between a meal. You know, you can't put it down to it's only £8 because for some people that £8 is a penny in the pocket. Some people it's an entire meal and an entire shop.
So to put it into more simple terms, essentially, it's the same with the tax brackets. So in addition to having to pay tax when you're on a lower income in real terms, you're going to be having to pay more money towards your student loan, because it's like saying if you earn £20,000 now, say that was the bracket for when you start paying back tax, and you're still earning £20,000 in 5 years' time, you'd still be paying the same amount as somebody who was earning £20,000 last year. But as we know, inflation means that in real terms that is less value for money. So it's going to be the case with income tax and with student loan repayment thresholds. So if this sounds like a lot of money, doesn't it, for people to be paying back or paying to the government?
Yeah, well, I compared it to the Freddo before, which I feel like in simple terms it is, you know, like, it's not fair because, like, just because it's the government, and it's always the government at the root of the issue these days, I think. But yeah, it is a lot of money unnecessarily, I think, because when you go to uni, you're said, like, you're given that this is when you're gonna pay it back by, this is how much you're gonna pay back, but to just, like, essentially increase it like that without, like, as you said, like, it is breaking a contract. It's just, yeah, it's unfair.
There's a reason people are angry.
Yeah.
You made a big life decision, going to university, putting yourself in this amount of debt, or whatever you want to, you know, frame it as. Some people call it graduate tax or other things. And you did that based on terms. These terms were given to you. The government told you at the time that this is the price will, you know, the repayment will go up in line with wages and with inflation. They broke that contract when they said they're going to freeze the threshold. So there's a reason people are angry. There's a reason that when they made that life decision, that now they're feeling disenfranchised with the government, with the Tories as well before them, because they originally put this frozen threshold into place, and Labour are only continuing it. Is it another sign that Labour are out of touch? Maybe, but on a base level, this is more money which is going to come out of people who are earning the same amount. So if you got a pay rise from £30,000 to £33,000, the old promise, you know, the threshold rises to say, you know, £29,000. You pay 9% of that money. You know, you're paying £30 a month. What really happened is the threshold stayed at £27,295. You pay £9,000 of £5,705, and now you're paying £43 a month.
So it's a lot of money, isn't it? I mean, you mentioned there, so £9,500 per year for the course. That's the tuition fee plus maintenance grants. these loans are huge amounts of money over 3 years. You're paying upwards of 30 grand now for the course itself, and if you do a 4-year course, even more. And then all the maintenance loans, because they add up after 9 semesters or so by the end of the course. Did finance put you guys off coming to uni at all? Just a quick answer from all of you.
For me, it's an interesting one. Tuition, no. Maintenance, yes.
Okay.
Same. Tuition, no. Maintenance, yes.
It makes you double back it. I think it makes you really check again. For me, it didn't, because I think I value education. I think education is important, and I do have that slight optimism that eventually we'll get to a place where courses can be free again, and maybe it will be written off like it was in America for a time.
Yeah.
But I can see why, and I know people that actually made a decision not to go based on this and have dropped out based on it even.
So just to clarify for everybody at home, these are the Plan 2 loans we're discussing here, which are for graduates who studied at uni between 2012 and 2023. They're paying a 6.2% interest rate as well on these loans. The bank base rate is 3.75%, so this is significantly higher for graduates than the average person paying back a mortgage or a personal loan. Why do we think graduates are being targeted by the government? Why have they led to this approach to target graduates with heavy interest rates?
Because they have to. They have to pay it back. So because of how you pay back a student loan, you don't see that money. You never see the money that you pay back because it gets taken out of your paycheck. It's not like a normal loan where you choose to go into it and then you have, if worse comes to worse, you choose to you have to go into bankruptcy. This is taken from you before you even see the money. For a lot of people, though, they argue this is the worst type of loan. And it's especially Plan 2 for students, because you look at all the other plans, Plan 1 through 5, they look at how the interest is added. It's only RPI. This is RPI plus up to 3%. And then sometimes there's a cap. So when back in 2022, it was capped again because of big interest rates. It becomes one of the hardest loans to repay because a lot of people won't ever repay it. It'll come to a point where it gets wiped after 40 years.
That makes sense as to why it's such a high interest rate. Guys, any final thoughts on this? Sophie and Noah, have you got anything else to say on the student loan situation?
I can say that just to answer your question before on why graduates are the targeting here, it's because graduates really, on average, do earn more than non-graduates. So technically, they are targeted in terms of what they can give back to the government. Over their lifetimes, they can afford to contribute more statistically. This is what the government spokespeople would probably give you as an answer. Maybe you wouldn't take it as an answer. But the system's meant to make higher education sort of partly self-funding rather than taxpayer-funded. So that's sort of a reason why the tuition fees were introduced in the first place. And it is progressive. In theory, you only pay if you earn enough. It's progressively, but technically what it does mean is that if you do go into a high-paying job, you're a banker, you're a surgeon, that you do pay it off and it's gone. The people who are now being affected by it are middle earners, so social workers, teachers. These are the people who are earning that sort of middling wage and continually paying increasing amounts through their sort of careers. That is the people which this government should be looking at as the backbone of this country. Surgeons, bankers can afford to pay it off, fine. But what this policy, Plan 2 especially, is frozen threshold. We are the ones damaged by it, okay? And people who, 2012 up until when it finished in about 2023 will be the ones impacted most.
Brilliant. Any final thoughts, Soph, just quickly?
I just agree with sort of what Noah said as well. Like, it's sort of like the government have given out all this money and then they obviously need to get it back somehow. And it's like, oh, who can we target next? Like, they've gone for pensioners, now they're going for students.
Cool. Yeah, no. Anyway, moving on. So, the Brit Awards, they were last Saturday. After over 3 decades of the ceremony being held in London every single time, it has finally arrived up in the north, here in Manchester. It was hosted by Jack Whitehall at the Co-op Live last Saturday night. Now, personally, I slept through the whole ceremony because I was having a 22-hour nap after Charity Campsite. However, it's been great for the city. We've had Deansgate Station renamed Olivia Deansgate. She won 4 awards, including Song of the Year and Artist of the Year. And we also had Manchester's very own Noel Gallagher winning Songwriter of the Year. Now, Soph, you're a big fan of pop culture. Give us a rundown on what went on Saturday night for someone like me who wasn't able to watch it.
Okay, so Pink Pantheress, she was the first ever female and youngest person ever to win the Producer of the Year, which that's pre-announced before the show. So there's 3 awards that are pre-announced. So she won that, and then Noel Gallagher won Songwriter of the Year, and then Mark Ronson, was it Lifetime Achievement Award, I think?
Outstanding
Outstanding
contribution.
contribution. There we go. There was a dedicated performance to Mark Ronson in which he performed, and then he also had Dua Lipa and a big orchestra behind him, and it was great. I loved it. It was camp.
Didn't he do one with Amy Winehouse as basically live backing vocals?
Yeah.
I've got to watch that. I think that must have been... Was that incredible to watch? I bet.
We were sat in Eccles Spoons watching.
Eccles Spoons? Oh,
yeah.
Well, no greater place to watch the Brits than there.
No.
Exactly. The atmosphere there was electric.
I'm trying to think what else happened.
Well, Harry Styles.
Harry Styles. Yeah. That was the highlight of my night.
Did you enjoy it? Because I have a lot of reservations about this song, Aperture. I listened to it and I thought, oh, there's quite a lot going on, and I found it quite hard to keep up with, and I didn't really enjoy it. But apparently the live performance was incredibly good.
The live performance was incredibly good. The way that it was staged and the way, like, for tech nerds like yourself, he very enjoyed it. Oh, yeah. And like the different camera shots and everything, and then he had like big backing dancers and everything. Like the Co-op Live does feel like the place to have it, because it feels like it's been made for things like this. Like you've got, when it's at like the O2, you've not got sort of the space, like obviously it's massive, but the Co-op Live it's the biggest arena in Europe. So you've got just all that space, and it does just feel great. And Manchester knows how to do music.
Yeah. Well, and Aperture is one of them songs that needs a live performance for it to be well. It's great hearing it recorded, but it's even better through a live microphone.
Was there much of a spotlight on Mancunian music, particularly throughout the ceremony, considering this was the first time it's come out of London?
They had Sean and Bez from Happy Mondays, which
yeah.
And then they had like a raver there, but it sort of, people have called it classist. That it felt classist.
Felt a little belittling to the idea of, it was more like a Londoner's idea of what Manchester is, rather than like this is Manchester.
There's a lot of jokes about Manchester. It was a sense that we moved down to Manchester, so we're going to just joke about it for 3 hours. That was very much what Jack Whitehall made it into.
Not particularly authentic then.
No, it felt like it was fitting the. Oh, it's like rim up
like,
north.
It felt like the stars were out. You know, they brought out the stars. I thought the Rosalia performance was amazing.
York.
Yep. And I thought it felt like Harry Styles was doing a bit of a tribute to the Talking Heads in his performance.
Yeah.
But in terms of the actual Manchester feel, they tried, but it felt like it fell a little flat.
It was there was a bigger build-up from the council, like from Greater Manchester Council, than there was actually dedication to Manchester. I mean, they had Andy Burnham there, and Lisa Nandy, and Bev Craig. They were there.
Yeah.
Well,
tough week for them.
Do you think this will have impacted the city's economy though in a positive way? And do you think this is spotlighting Manchester on the map as we try and kind of level up the country?
Oh, 100%, because you literally had people from all over the world like staying in. Obviously, they have to put the artists somewhere. They were at like the Lowry and the Kimpton, so it's obviously like the fancier hotels, but still they're here, and it is putting a spotlight on Manchester. And they've signed a deal, so is it a 2-year contract?
A 2-year deal with Top Life.
And that could also then, do you look at putting it to other places, or do you just stick Manchester because it works? Yeah.
And it is the city of music at the end of the day, with Noel Gallagher, Liam Gallagher, Stone Roses. I could list loads of bands.
One of the most censored Brit Awards in a good while. ITV did a lot of censoring. I imagine it's after what happened at the BAFTAs only the weekend before. A lot of jokes were censored. Some of them were fair, but a lot of it was censored.
Well, that's it from the Brits for today, but you can read more if you go to the Shock News website. Oliver Griffiths has done a full roundup of what went on Saturday night. So to finish off with some local quick stories that have been going on around our patch, around Salford, we've got a new school that's set to open in the Broughton area for children with mild learning difficulties. It's going to be an independent private school for students in year 7 to 11 with small classes, 4 to 5 pupils a year. And there's also another primary school, Ascend Primary School, opening in Walkden too. This one you're going to like. Angry Ginge.
Yeah.
I'm a Celebrity fame. Did he win it?
Yes. Yeah.
He did win it. See, my pop culture is a little bit all over the show. He's now going to be playing for England in Soccer Aid, so he's going to be getting national press coverage again. He won Man of the Match at last year's Soccer Aid, so will he be able to do well again?
Although, moving back to London. Moving back to London after a year in Manchester.
They do it. They alternate it.
Oh, they alternate.
So they do it. They also alternate which stadiums they do it in Manchester. Because I saw it at the Etihad a few years ago, and then last year it was Old Trafford.
Well, it's also happened at Stamford Bridge as well.
Yeah.
So respect the Chelsea badge.
Well, Owen Cooper from Adolescents has also been.
He's been announced.
So he's the youngest player in Soccer Aid ever.
How old is he?
16.
Wow. Okay.
He's also just won pretty much all the awards.
Every award.
Every award.
Cross everything.
Yeah.
All of it.
He is the youngest person ever.
Well, talking about charity and Soccer Aid, Shock Radio and TV also raised £1,855 for Mind in Salford in Shock's charity campsite last Friday into Saturday morning. And you can watch that back on Shock TV. But what you should also do is follow Shock News on Instagram. It's at Shock News Salford. And head to our website too, where there's loads of articles on all things Salford. Enjoy the rest of the day. It's sunny. Hopefully the sunny weather continues. And we carry on with Costa del Salford. But it is March now, so the spring is here. But until next time, thank you very much for watching the Shock News podcast. Thank you to Alfie, Garner, Sophie, Milligan and Noah Buckingham Reed for being the guests. I've been Benny Fiddimore, and we'll see you soon.